I've been playing outdoors since I was a kid, standing by the front door at around 2 years old, hollering, side, 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 trying to get my mom to let me go play outside. Now, after 30 plus years working in the outdoor business, I'm dropping insider conversations every week with the brand leaders, guides, marketers, CEOs, and others that make the outdoor industry a trillion-dollar juggernaut that drives product innovation, revenue, and public policy for everything outdoors. I'm Rick Saez. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 425 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rising on the Fly. Julia Mitchell had a kernel of this idea she'd been noodling on for a few years. She had some lightly used fly fishing clothes that didn't fit her anymore and thought it would be perfect for another angler. Julia was working in a leadership role with United Women on the Fly and also started a leadership role with a local fly fishing group where she met Tema and I. After sharing her idea of breaking down barriers for women to enjoy fly fishing and providing used or donated gear and clothing for them, Tema was on board with the mission. On August 5th, 2022, Rising to the Fly was born. Hello, ladies. How's it going tonight?
Good, thank you.
Going well.
Good. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. This is going to be a great conversation on fishing. I always love to talk fishing, and we were talking before the recording started. I was out fishing yesterday in Hot Creek and didn't have any luck, but sometimes it goes like that, right?
That's why it's called fishing, not catching.
I say that all the time. So let's start off with, where did the name Rising on the Fly come from? I love it.
So it's actually kind of a funny story. So Tema and I had made the decision to start the program, and I had originally thought about doing it through a local fly fishing group and had come up with the name NorCal Closet for Northern California. And I said, I really don't want this to be limited to Northern California. I really think that we should do it across the country. And so we should change the name to something that's more appropriate. And so we're going through some iterations and ideas and stuff. And I said, what about Rising to the Dry? And Tema responded with, oh, yeah, I really like that. Rising to the Fly. And I was like, oh, yeah, actually, that is much better. Rising to the Fly. So that's how we came up with the name. It was actually a miscommunication between the two of us, but it worked out really, really well.
So it's Rising to the Fly. I had Rising on the Fly. Rising to the Fly.
Rising to the Fly.
Oh, okay. Got to make sure I get that right. Yeah, cool. And how did you and Tema meet?
We actually met through a local fly fishing group. I had put together a trip on the Trinity, and she was a very brave soul and signed up, and we just immediately hit it off. And I had told her about the idea, and she really liked it, and the timing just hadn't really kind of clicked. And about a year ago in August, we were talking through the concept, and Tema was really excited about it. And I just said, all right, you know what? We should do this. We should make this happen. And that's what we did.
Very cool. Tema, what drove you to the concept? What'd you like about it?
There are a lot of things that I like about it. I've done a lot of work with various nonprofits, and so this was right in my wheelhouse. I love fly fishing. I love what it's brought to me personally, and I really wanted to be able to share that with other women. And so when Julia approached me with this idea, I absolutely loved it. And so we just launched it and full speed ahead.
Pedal to the metal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Julia, when and where was your first fly fishing experience?
I learned how to fly fish in 1999. My mother had gone with my father to a friend's house in Wyoming that my father had designed as an architect, and they went fly fishing, and she said to me that she thought I would love it. And I was sort of like, what? Like, isn't that where you just sit on a deck and like watch a bobber? And I don't know. So I started doing some research, and I found a intro to fly fishing clinic up in Dunsmuir. And so I went, my mom and I went, and that was it. I was hooked, as they say. And so I have been fishing ever since, although I will say I really started getting into doing it much more, probably about 5 years ago. I started going on my own and started going with friends and not just doing sort of guided trips.
Mm-hmm. Dunsmuir is a great place to fish. I fished up there a bunch. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Especially this time of year. Yeah, exactly.
absolutely. So fall is my favorite season. And
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
it was just gorgeous. I was just out in the Trinity today, and the yellow leaves and the orange and everything. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, that's what's going on here in Bishop right now. It's all popping. Although we had some weather roll in, so we'll see what happens, but it's still beautiful. And your favorite river to fish is the Trinity. What makes that river so special?
Oh, it's such a great river. Well, first of all, steelhead are my favorite. And
Okay.
so it is, one of the best steelhead rivers. And it's a tough river. It's a really tough river. And I love that. I love that it is a technical river and that it pushes you to be a better angler. And boy, when you get a win, you get a real win. And even today, like, I hooked into a really nice steelhead and it ripped down the river. And, I, fought with it for a while and I lost it. And I'm still so happy. Like, what an
Right.
amazing experience.
Right.
So,
Yeah, there's some
yeah.
beautiful fish there. Have you fished with Dave up there?
So I haven't fished with Dave on the Trinity. I fished with him on the Lower Sac, and I've been I've been around since 1999. So I've been fishing around here for a long time. So Dave and I have been in the same orbit for a very long time.
Gotcha. Dave Neal, yeah, he's been a buddy of mine. He used to live down here in Mammoth and work at an outdoor stop here, so I've known him for years. Yeah, good guy.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Love Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tema, when and where was your fly fishing experience?
So I started taking some casting lessons in May of 2021. And then I went out with a friend of mine onto Poudre Creek and did absolutely everything wrong. I didn't wear full waders. I didn't have a wading staff. I put the car keys in my front pocket of my hoodie and crossed a river that was pretty high.
Oh.
It was just one of those things where you don't realize how dumb you are until you're really dumb.
Yep. So that first day, did you catch fish?
No. I think it took me about 6 months to catch a fish on Poudre Creek. It's a really tough. People say it's like one of the most technical rivers in the state. I'm not sure about that, but it's a pretty difficult technical river. But I loved it. I loved it for a long time. It's where I learned how to fly fish. I think it probably made me a better angler over the course of a year. And now I just fish everywhere. I think I had some ridiculous number, like 93 days on the river last year.
Oh, wow. Good for you. What makes Poudre Creek so special? I've heard a lot about it, but I've never been to it.
So I think it's a couple of different things. It's very challenging. And so when you do land a fish or you hook into a fish, the first fish I caught on Poudre Creek was maybe 3 inches long. And I've never been so excited. I mean, it was it was amazing. And so I think part of it is it's just a really tough, challenging creek or river. So when you do catch a fish, it's pretty remarkable.
Is it the technical fishing that makes it challenging, or
yeah? I mean,
okay.
It's a little bit of both. So you're surrounded by a lot of trees, a lot of brush, sometimes a lot of gunk in the water, and then the fish are really spooky and finicky and wary. And so, I used to not think about how I would get into a river. I just kind of stomp into a river, and after a few times, I'm like, this isn't working. What am I doing?
Right. Huh. Yeah, I'd love to go there someday.
Combat fishing is what I hear a little bit with Creek.
Yeah, I used to live in Alameda, so I would go by there a lot, but I just never got to go. So it's still on my list. I got to get out there. Pretty cool spot.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Sounds like it, yeah. So tell us about Rising on the Fly. Your mission is to break down barriers to make fly fishing accessible and inclusive to all women. What inspired that?
Yeah, so I can say that it came from an idea that I had where I had some fly fishing shirts and I just didn't fit into them anymore. And I thought, they're very lightly used. And I thought there's got to be an angler out there who can use these. Seems like such a shame to donate them to Goodwill or Salvation Army. So I just I had this idea of like, how do we come up with, a space where people can, because I also thought I can't be the only person. So how do we come up with a space where, my original idea was more of like, you have this closet where people could drop it off and then, other women, if they could come in and do like an exchange kind of thing. But then when Tema and I started talking about it, we realized that it's more than just, shirts or something like that. It's really about gear. And, our number one request are like hands down, our number one requests are waders, boots, and rods. So you could tell that it's more of the gear. And so that's where we chose to really put our focus in, especially in the beginning, is getting in waders and boots and rods and reels, and then turning around and getting that out to women. And I have been a strong proponent of, the fish don't know. When you're fishing a $120 rod reel combo, they don't know that. They don't know if you're fishing that or you're fishing some $800, Sage or Orvis or something, rod.
Yep.
And so you can make it happen. Like, you can enjoy this sport. You do not have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to enjoy this sport. You can really enjoy it with this, minimal amount of gear and a minimal amount of equipment. And so that's what we really focused on. And then once we kind of got that up and going and working and stuff, then we started to focus on doing clinics and more in person and partnering up with other organizations to do in-person events. So that was the third, because our three prongs it's rising to the fly, gear, garb, and guidance. And so those are our three prongs. And that's what that's our focus, I should say.
So that's how you deliver on the mission, is through the three prongs. Tell me a little more about
Yes.
those three prongs. Yeah.
Sure. So we look for gear and garb. So the gear is the waders, the boots, the rods, the reels, the line, tippet, flies, all of those elements.
All the stuff.
Yeah, packs, anything, wading
okay.
straps, belts, you name it. And then the garb is really like the clothing, the jackets, the sun hoodies, the sun shirts, the neck gaiters, hats, all of those different elements. And then lastly, we have guidance, which takes place we have in-person clinics, and we kind of gone two different routes. We partner with other organizations and for example, we partnered with Southern Oregon Women on the Fly and did a clinic with them where we met at a local Southern Oregon fly shop, went through knots and leader and tippet and setting up your rod and reel and flies and all of that, water safety. And then the next morning we met for a casting clinic, and then we took them out on the river. So that was one
cool
model that we follow.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, we had our very first Rising to the Fly clinic where we opened up applications to women to attend a weekend of intensive training, if you will, and instruction. And we had 6 slots, and we got over 35 applications.
Wow.
Yeah. So it really just helped Tema and I be like, okay, so there's clearly a need for this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good for you.
Helped us learn, like, we did an intro to fly fishing, and that was great. But there were some applications that came in where we were like, you know what? We should also do like an intermediate, a fly fishing clinic, because there's definitely women who they have a good basic grasp, but now they sort of want the next level. And so that's something that we're focusing on for 2024.
And do you guys have a shop, or what do you operate out of? Or do you partner with shops? How does that work? So if you have a group of people that have applied for something, where's the first meetup, so to speak?
So for this one that we did in October, we generously got a donation of a campground up in McLeod. It's the McLeod Outpost campground, and the gentleman who owns it donated it to us for the weekend. So that's where we did. And then there's a stocked pond. Honestly, it's like half a mile down or maybe a mile down from that campground. And the gentleman there was very nice. They have a rod fee, and he like basically cut it in half for us because we're a nonprofit. So we got all of the women out on a pond so that they could really make sure that they actually catch a fish. And they did. And it was great. And then we divided them up and took 3 of them. Tema took 3 of them off to a smaller walkway creek. And then I stayed, and Emily, one of our volunteers, Emily, stayed and helped the 3 women who stayed on the pond. And then the next day, Tema took a smaller group to the Upper Sacramento to do that walkway experience.
Very cool. And how often do you guys do this?
Well, that was our first one. And then,
okay. So this is still pretty new. Okay, got you.
Yeah. And then next Tema helped me out. We're at like 3 or 4 next year.
I think we're shooting for somewhere between 4 and 6.
Yeah,
Nice.
4 and 6.
Clinics. Yeah.
And that is a combination of us doing them just by ourselves and then partnering up. We're partnering up with Sierra Fly Girls and what's the Calgary Women?
Yeah, Calgary Women Fly Fishing Club.
Nice.
That's it, Calgary Women Fly Fishing Club. We're looking at partnering with them. So, and I'm sure we'll do another one with Southern Oregon Women on the Fly because that was very successful. So there's 3 right there, and then we've got at least 3 that we're planning on. So yeah, that's 6 right there.
That's awesome. I'm sure it'll fill up quick too once the word gets out, and you get some more. You guys do some more promotion and word out there. That's awesome. So you work with other women fly fishing groups. Do you also have any relationships with any local shops? Like, do you promote through them or reach out to their customers? Anything? Do any of that kind of stuff?
So last year we were able to. Tahoe Fly Fishing Outfitters was one of our first and continues to be one of our biggest supporters. And what they did last year was they put a barrel in their shop for anyone who wanted to drop off gently used gear for our nonprofit. And so we're sort of trying to expand that for this upcoming holiday season and getting more barrels in the shops kind of all over the place in the Bay Area and up in the North Bay. And hopefully a little bit in Southern Oregon. So we'll see how that goes. But fly shops have been really, really supportive. They've donated some of their old gear. They've really been great.
Yeah, I would think this is a great thing for them to bring more customers in, and I think everybody needs more customers, whether they're men or women. Who cares? It doesn't really matter.
Right.
It helps that we're tax deductible. So we had an Orvis shop out in Colorado that reached out because they had gear that they, for whatever reason, it was going to be donated, and Orvis allows their shops to choose who they want to donate to. And so the manager of the shop reached out to me and said, I love your mission. I love what you're doing. And we would love to send you this gear. And they sent us just a ton of great stuff. And that was huge. And so I'm definitely following up with other Orvis shops on that. And any of the other shops as well. But I just know that Orvis has that already in place, that program.
Mm-hmm. Do any other brands have any of their brands donated stuff for you, like Sims or Farbank?
So Farbank, we have a partnership with them. We have a partnership with Echo. We have a partnership with Loon.
That's pretty good.
Fishy.
And Miss Mayfly has donated a lot of waders to us. They have been a really great partner.
Yeah. That's been great. I actually got quite a large box delivered today from Miss Mayfly. That was awesome and
nice,
exciting. Full of waders, women's waders.
What do your garages look like?
Well, thankfully, I have a huge shop, which is completely turned into all things Rising to the Fly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that's the local headquarters, your shop?
Yeah. Yep.
And is it a retail shop? What kind of shop is it?
It's just like an actual shop. Like one side has my tractor and my mower, and the other side.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. So how do you guys organize all this stuff? That's a lot of inventory to keep track of. It must be like running a little retail store, a big retail store.
Yeah, it's a lot. We kind of divided it up with who handles what, and we have, we track it. Julia does a lot of the garb, although I tend to have a little bit. I do most of the equipment, the rods, the reels, the waders, the boots. Also just because I have a lot of space here, so it's just convenient.
Yeah. Julia, anything to add to that?
No, I was just going to say I have transformed my garage into sort of the warehouse up here. And so I did an event recently. We had these really cool hangers and for bags to hang bags on. And so at the end of the show, I was like, "Hey, can I have those?" And they were like, "Sure." So I gave 2 to Tema and I took 2. And so I hang all of the, all of the jackets and shirts and all of that stuff on those in my garage. It just makes inventorying a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And do you guys go to the local shows? You must.
So we are hoping to go to the fly fishing show in Pleasanton. Just submitted my application. I know I'm a little late, so we'll see. You have to be accepted.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
hopefully I'll get to go to that one. We've talked about some other shows. I think this coming year, 2024, will be a little light. And then hopefully 2025 will start to pick up more shows and go to more. There's one in Virginia that I got an application for that I would love to go, but it's hard. Tema and I are the only, we're the main 2 people. We have 2 volunteers, and both, and all 4 of us have full-time jobs. So,
oh, wow. I didn't realize that. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. So, so we all have to, fit this in the time that we can. And so it's not like we can go to everything and do everything. And we have to, figure out our time wisely.
Mm-hmm. The side hustle time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Are there any other women-focused fly fishing nonprofits you work with? You mentioned a few.
So we work really closely with Casting for Recovery. We, in California, we help out with the Northern California retreats. And so we're kind of the backfill. So if these women go through the retreat in the clinic and they want to continue to fly fish, they reach out to us. And so I would say during our first year, that was probably where we helped most women, was through these Casting for Recovery events. And it's been across the United States. We've helped women in Georgia. We've helped women in New York, California. I'm sure I'm missing a couple of other states. I think one was
Colorado,
in Alabama.
Montana.
Yeah, definitely Colorado. And so we work really pretty closely with them. I was up, they had a local board of directors retreat up on the Fall River, and I went up and spent half a day with them, helped them with some casting, did a little fly fishing with them. And it's a really, really nice partnership.
Yeah.
Our goal for our, 2024 is to really partner with 3 to 4 additional nonprofits. We've worked a tiny bit with Project Healing Waters, a little bit with She Jumps. And so we really want to expand that piece of Rising of the Fly.
And is there anyone else out there doing what you're doing or something similar?
I don't think so.
That's a great question. I don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have not heard of it. I think the closest comes to it, but it's different, is Cast Hope, and they focus on kids. And the Mayfly Project focuses on mentoring kids in the foster system. But again, those are both kids focused programs. And but it's the same sort of concept of getting kids out and allowing them to enjoy fly fishing and hopefully spark an interest. But if you're talking about just women, no, there's not that I'm aware of.
And do you guys have you had time to think about a longer term vision? Do you have plans to, maybe set up chapters in some of these other states, or how's that going to work? Any thoughts on that? Or are you just too busy doing what you're doing?
I think we're too busy doing what we're doing. I think
I'm not surprised.
Our long term was, I would think we're at this point kind of thinking maybe 2 years out, and really amping up the amount of in-person clinics we can do, because they're so rewarding and they're so helpful. And I feel like if you can just get the women out on the water and teach them, your chances of them continuing through and carrying through is really gonna.
That's got to be pretty powerful. Yeah, I would think.
Right.
It's pretty awesome. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you get anybody out on the water and they're kind of hooked, that's the trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you get that little tug, even if you don't catch
Yeah.
it, just the tug, right? The tug is the drug, as they say.
It
Yeah.
is, and I have definitely fished with a lot of guides, and I'm like, wow, they're really excited I catch this fish, and now I get it. Having like, I'm so excited when one of the women catches a fish. I'm just hooting and hollering, and oh my gosh, and they're excited too. But I am equally, if not more, excited.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 They might be excited, but there may be a little trepidation there because they're still not sure. Okay, now I got this thing. What the heck am I going to do with this slimy
Right.
little guy? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always that terror of them, of, oh, am I going to lose it? And
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. We'll get another one. There's more in there.
That's right. That's right. That's cool. Yeah. Do you guys have any suggestions or advice for folks that may want to start something similar to this?
I think one of the things that Tema and I did that was very helpful is we reached out to other nonprofits and asked if they would just meet with us and talk to us about their experience. And I feel like we got some really good advice from those people. And we continue to have conversations with people. For example, we were just talking with Hogan Brown the other day, and I was saying about how when this started, I thought that we would have tons of women submitting applications, and I was super stressed about getting donations, and we got a lot of donations, and we didn't have a lot of women. And now we're sort of, the pendulum has swung, and we have tons of women, and now we're scrambling more to do the donation part. And Hogan was like, oh yeah, you should get used to that. And because that is exactly how, this goes with the nonprofit that he works with. And so I think that just having a network of people who are doing it, have a similar mission and have a similar nonprofit organization is a big help, and really helps you sort of manage, or not manage, but like know what's coming down the line, if you will.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's the trick.
Stressed.
Yeah, that's the trick. Whatever, even just a little podcast, right? I mean, the further out that you have your content, at least whatever your content is, whether you're going to do events or you have podcast episodes or whatever, but at least it's scheduled. You know what's going to happen. Because when it just comes at you, it's kind of like, it's a challenge.
Yeah,
keep track
absolutely.
of it. Yeah. Hey, are you a t-shirt fanatic like me? I'm always on the lookout for new t-shirts. I have a collection of tees with funny sayings, inspiring graphics, or just something with a simple message. And I often find them at TeePublic. TeePublic has all kinds of apparel, including outdoor biz tees, hats, and more. Visit ricksaez.com/teepublic and find something to add to your tee collection today. I know you have one. That's ricksaez.com/teepublic. Now, back to the show. So all this gear that you use, obviously you both fish. We know what a gear collection that can be. Do you have a favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100 or fishing gear that you just can't live without?
So this may sound ridiculous, but it's fairly new, so I'm still really excited about it. But my favorite thing right now is my lanyard. And I know that is ridiculous, but I love it so much. And I thought, I don't understand how I went so long without it. And I just have two things on it, but it's the two things I use the most. Mm-hmm. And I'm no longer digging through my bag of, old sandwich and flies that I just tossed to the bottom and all that other junk in it. And it's made my life so much easier, especially when I'm out on a river, trying to swap out my fly.
And what do you have on the lanyard?
So I have my nippers and my, what are we calling them? Not my little scissors.
Oh, okay. Little forceps things?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And Julia, do you have a favorite piece of outdoor gear, fishing gear under $100?
Under $100 is tough for me.
That's why I ask it.
I know it's a great question. And I will say, I think if I had to answer that, I would say that having a retractable for both your net and your waiting staff are two things that, having lost both in the river, Ooh. I would say that is something that is hugely valuable, and they can be, $30, $20. I mean, you can kind of fashion one for even cheaper if you want. But I think that that's invaluable, because I have lost a $100 wood net in the Trinity, and I have lost a $75 collapsible Sims waiting staff in the Trinity. So
yeah.
find it on the Trinity, please return it to me.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it takes a piece of your heart when you see it, when it's gone. I was like,
yeah. Well, and like you say, those things aren't cheap, so yeah.
So I think it's a cheap piece of equipment, and it is worth its weight in gold.
Because that little piece of equipment saves your $700 piece of equipment.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Makes total sense. Yeah. And I also like to ask folks about books. What are some of your favorite books? One or two.
So I have two favorites.
Cool.
My first one is called The Little Red Book of Fly Fishing.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's a quick read, and it's full of, really helpful information. And then my other favorite book is kind of a sciencey, nerdy book, but it's Dave Whitlock's Guide to Aquatic Trout Foods. And for me, it really helps me learn trout behavior, which I find very fascinating.
Well, and it probably helps you catch fish.
Sometimes.
If you learn their behavior well enough, you'll know what they're doing. At least you know where they're at,
Yeah. No, it's a pretty good book.
Yeah, very cool. Julia, how about you?
I really like this book that I recently bought. It's called The Bug Book, A Fly Fisher's Guide to Trout Stream Insects, just because I feel like that's something that I'm getting more and more into, of just really trying to do a deeper dive on entomology and understanding the bugs and understanding, the different stages, and it breaks it down by location. So it gets really into, whatever you are, whether you're West Coast, East Coast, whatever, it does a real deep dive on that. And so I've been studying that one recently and really enjoying it.
Cool. That's got to help you fishing too.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really helping me understand what I'm looking at. And, when I see hatches going off, and then just sort of when I'm looking at the bugs. And then Tema and I were fishing this past weekend, and one of the fish actually threw up on the boat. And so we were like,
oh, wow.
Cool, let's check out what's in its stomach. What's it eating? It's super exciting. Who knew throw up could be exciting?
Right.
But the guide went through all of the different contents and talked to us about what it was, and then changed some of his flies. And so, to me, it's just so cool. I'm like, oh man, that's neat.
Yeah. That helps you, because then you could probably recognize what's coming off the water too, bug-wise.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, that helps a ton. You pull up rocks and looking under the rocks. Yeah, that helps a ton. Yep. Yeah. As we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to say to or ask of our audience?
Yeah, I would love for the audience to check out our website, which is www.risingtothefly.com. And then check us out on social media. On Facebook, we're Rising to the Fly. Same with Instagram. And if you, hopefully when you go to our website, you can subscribe. We do a quarterly newsletter. So it's only 4 times a year. We don't bombard you with a bunch of emails. And then to the people who have anything that they could donate, we have a whole page that talks about what we're looking for and how to donate, both gear, garb, and then also financial donations are a huge help. Mm-hmm. Shipping is very expensive, and a lot of times while we have these great discounts with companies, we still need to actually purchase the items. So that's your financial donations will go to that. And then if you are a woman looking for gear, there is an application to apply to get the gear, and you can look at that and send us an application. And that's, that would be great. We would love for that to happen. Cool. And then, if you are a fly shop or a vendor, a company, please, if you think there's any way that you can help us and support us, we would love to hear from you.
Awesome. We'll link to all that stuff in the show notes for sure. Tema, anything you want to add to that?
I don't think so. I think Julia said it perfectly.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you guys talking to us, and I'm sure the audience will be thrilled to know what's going on, and we'll share it all up and get some more gear coming your way.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes with links to everything we talked about and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Saez.